Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for logging on to CBSDenver.com. Time for a few more minutes with tonight's Xfinity Monday Live guest, Scott Hastings, here at the View House Centennial. We were just talking about this as we went off air. Next team to win a championship. You're thinking the Avs and Nuggets are right there in that conversation.
Yeah, I do think the Avs. I think the Avs are close. Listen, some of their best stars are still going to get better.
Very, very young.
Like McKinnon probably should have won the Hart Trophy. I think he'll win one or two. Landeskog's Landeskog. I thought he grew up and turned into a man last year. I thought he was outstanding. Mikko Rantanen was great last year. I think he'll get better.
Yep.
And then Jost and Gerard and all these different young guys, Kerfoot. I mean, I think they got a chance to really add it. They get was it Grubauer
Grubauer, yeah,
the goalie. I think was a great step because he was, the Caps goalie for most of the year and started the playoffs. So I think they're the closest. The Nugs are as talented as anybody else, but they're in the West.
I think you made a good point. It's going to take them a while to learn how to win, too. We saw a lot of games last year where they kind of petered out or just didn't show up, and then they made that run toward the end of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get to 46 wins and can't win the game in Minnesota, and that's the reason you're not in the playoffs.
Let me throw this to you. In that power ranking, listen, they're all subjective and whatever they are, but in the power rankings that just came out on ESPN, in the top 10, 4 of them were the Northwest Division.
Yep.
I mean, so you got Oklahoma City's in there, Utah's in there, Denver's in there, Portland's in there in the top 10. And the fifth team in that, Minnesota, was 15.
Has tons of talent on paper, too.
Yeah. So it's not going to be easy, not only because they're in the West, but they're in the Northwest, and you play those guys more than anybody else.
Well, and you hope that in that learning process they learned you got to bring it every single night when you step on the floor for 82 nights.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more. One guy we didn't get to touch on when we were talking about all the Nuggets changes was Kenneth Faried and the guys that they got rid of. Faried, Darrell Arthur, and Wilson Chandler. I think Faried may be the biggest name in terms of what he did early in his time here in Denver and then kind of how he fell out of favor. Only played in 32 games last season. How big do you think it was for them to be able to move on from Faried, not only from a financial standpoint, but to just kind of wash away that period of a guy who was at one point a big fan favorite and a big lift off the bench?
Well, the naysayers say, well, you also gave a first-round pick. Now, it's protected next year, so if you have a slip-up year and something happens, you get in the lottery, you're going to get your pick. If not, and if this team goes like you think and I think they have the capability of going, you're not going to add a 24th pick to this team. What they're going to do. They're not going to do anything anyway. So the thing with Kenneth, and I love Kenneth to death, and he was such a great energy guy. If I were to say one critique of him is he didn't grow his game. And I remember having a conversation with Oral Boykins, who I know has been on the show with you guys before too. He never added something to your game, and you've always got to add something to your game. He's always been known as an energy guy and a high flyer. Well, you just mentioned a while ago, eventually them knees kind of wear out, and all of a sudden you start getting a little tired. And if all you are is that energy guy, what else you give me? He really never developed a shot. He really never developed a post move. And being undersized, he needed one of those two things anyway. So I hope, honestly, he goes and shines. Because he's not a bad kid. He's a good guy. I think he went to Brooklyn Riders. I hope he goes there, and the New York people just love him to death. I hope he has a great season next year. But it was time to move on. I mean, Michael Porter Jr., going forward, or Kenneth Faried. And the kid they signed, or they drafted from Kentucky, the Vanderbilt kid.
Yeah.
He's a 6'9" Faried. So he's 3 or 4 inches taller.
Who may be a better offensive threat as well.
Who knows?
Let's talk about this Nuggets team. And everybody's really high on them. We talked in the show about all the moves that they make. What are realistic expectations for this team in the upcoming season?
120 points a game. If they do that, they'll win 70 games. I just want you to know that.
Okay. 120 points.
If they average 100.
How many times are we going to hear that on broadcast?
Well, because Marlo, we got to play some defense. We got to play some defense. I said, Chris, they were like 18-2 or 21-2 when they scored 120. Well, make it out. That's 42-4. I mean, seriously,
we'll
right?
Take it.
So, and that's not realistic, probably. But I think they could be a scoring team. I think they're still going to be tough to guard because a team that's unselfish, and I don't care, Michael, you get the ball, tonight's your night, tomorrow night's my night, and you go with the hot hand. If they got enough talent to do that, and they're still unselfish, which they're a pretty unselfish team, how do you defend that? How do you get into, well, they like to pass and cut and move. You write that down in writing on the board. They like to pass, cut, and move. Be ready. There's no plays, and they're doing stuff out of just playing sets, as we used to call it. So I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing what they got the ability to do. The question is, can they do it?
That was true talent right there.
What?
Being distracted. I think she wants to take a picture.
Oh,
you just kept right on going.
Well, we're just on digital.
Didn't even miss a beat. My man, Scott Hastings. Hey, that's going to do it for us tonight. Scott, you were great.
Anytime,
Thanks so much
man.
for stopping by.
Anytime.
Really appreciate it. And thank you for logging on to CBSDenver.com.